In going back through some of the files on my PC, looking at some things that I've done, thought I would share a couple amplifiers that I had built 10, 11 years ago. They were a couple of my very first ones. Actually, my first amplifier was a little flop tube amplifier, shall we say, and it did not come out right. So I endeavored to build a 6V6 and a 6L6 amplifier. I no longer have them. They went to their new homes in the past number of years. The 6V6 was your basic circuit that's out there. I think everybody built these. They're pretty simple. I used a chassis from Hammond. You can see from this front picture shot, and decided to paint it white. And I used those controls on the front were stepped attenuators from Glassware Audio. I can't quite remember which model they were that I used in there. All Edgar transformers. And you can see the little heat sink for the regulated supply on some of the filaments that I used at the time. Here's a rear shot with the speaker outputs, the AC input cord and such. And here's a shot of the top of the amplifier. Nice down view of it. The circuit boards that I used, they're out there pretty standard, Chinese, eBay. I bought 4 of these at one time, and I used 2 in this particular amplifier. It was pretty cheap back then for these, and they're nice, heavy, thick boards. You can have a look at the chassis here, the wiring work that I did. The power supply was a Glassware Audio again. It was a PS14 that I used. I'm not sure if he offers this anymore. I haven't been to his website lately, but you can see that in the wiring I did on the boards. And here's the schematic. You'll recognize it if you've seen this on the web. Most likely, this is a pretty popular schematic. I'm going to use the Edgar output transformers and the power transformer, and you can see most of the wiring there. So it turned out to be a pretty nice project, and I was happy with it. Now, with some of the test equipment I have now, I probably could have improved that, especially with the feedback. I did a lot of guesswork back then. I didn't have the proper scope and signal generator to do that. But here is the 6L6 that I built. A front view of this. Now this is based on the Acrosound 6L6 circuit that was in the transformer catalog. And what I did was, I'll show you in a little bit, I use those same 6V6 boards, except I modify them so that they would be the same as that 6L6 circuit. So you can see a rear view of this. It's, your basic layout, your speaker terminals and such, and top view. Now, if you look on the inside, I used another power supply from Glassware Audio Design. It was PS3, I do believe. You can see all the connections. You can see some of the modifications I made to the board. But let's look at the PC board. There's the top of the PC board, and you can see some of the wiring modifications that I changed around. I may have had to cut some traces, I can't recall, to make it into the 6L6 Acrosound schematic. If you look at the bottom, there's some wiring, some jumpers that I put in there, and it turned out pretty good too. And the schematic, you can find this in the Acrosound old transformer catalogs, and it turned out pretty good, and it had a nice sound to it. Again, I did some guesswork on the feedback, and I made it, I'm not sure, that might even kept the resistor and cap the same on that because it sounded best. as I experimented. But if I would have had some better equipment and knew a little more about what I was doing about setting up the feedback, it may have come out a little better. So I'll leave these schematics in the description section, I'm sure, but they're out on the web. You can find them anywhere. So I thought I'd share that with you, just something from the past. So as you build these things and you play around, you learn. You learn right ways to do things, and you learn wrong ways to do things. And as I said, my very first amp, I had a couple wrong ways of doing things that I learned. I think I still have the chassis sitting up there on the shelf. One of these days, I'll get back to it. It was an L84 amp. I might turn it into something else. I never did manage to get it how I wanted it. So it is what it is. So enjoy. Be safe with these. A lot of high voltage is present. You can get hurt real easy. Believe me, being an electrician of all these years that I've worked for, 45 years, I know what it's like to get a good jolt. You'd never expect it when it comes. So have a good day. You have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave them. And we'll see you next time.